Today, we're going to explore a topic that is both urgent and incredibly important: the situation in Palestine, as seen through the eyes of author and lawyer Daniel Kovalik. For those of you who might be new to this conversation, let me set the scene. The Middle East is once again at a boiling point, with Israel carrying out relentless attacks on Gaza, causing unimaginable suffering for civilians, including women, children, and the elderly. But the conflict has deep roots that go far beyond the headlines and sound bites. To understand what's happening now, we need to look back at the history, the myths, and the realities that have shaped this region. I had the privilege of speaking with Daniel Kovalik, the author of The Case for Palestine: Why It Matters and Why You Should Care. Dan is not just another talking head. He's a lawyer, a professor, and an author who has spent years researching and advocating for human rights. His background in international human rights law and his first-hand experiences in the region provide a unique and powerful perspective. Dan starts by sharing his journey, growing up in Cincinnati, playing football, and eventually finding his way to Columbia Law School. He worked for the United Steelworkers Union for 26 years and taught international human rights law at the University of Pittsburgh School of Law for 12 years. This diverse background has given him a nuanced understanding of the complex issues at play. One of the most striking points Dan makes is about the deliberate ignorance that surrounds the Palestinian cause. He explains that the mainstream media and educational systems have systematically obscured the history of Palestine, creating a narrative that erases the presence and the rights of the Palestinian people. This myth, often summarized by the phrase "a land without a people, for a people without a land," is a foundational lie that has allowed for the ongoing displacement and suffering of Palestinians. The Nakba, which translates to catastrophe in Arabic, is a pivotal event that Dan emphasizes. In 1947 to 1948, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were forcibly displaced from their homes, and many were killed in the process. This isn't just a historical footnote, it's a living reality for the people of Gaza, where 70% of the population are descendants of those displaced in 1948. Today, every person in Gaza has been displaced multiple times since October 7th, 2023, when the latest wave of violence began. But it's not just the physical destruction that's devastating. Israel's actions are designed to erase the memory of the Palestinian people. By destroying universities, mosques, churches, and legal records, they are attempting to write Palestinians out of history. Dan highlights the cruel irony that the very records needed to prove ownership of land, birth certificates, and marriage certificates are being systematically destroyed, leaving survivors with no documented proof of their existence. The human stories are heart-wrenching. Dan shares the experience of a woman named Misa, an artist from Gaza who fled with her family, carrying a painting of the Holy Family as one of her few possessions. This painting, which now hangs in Dan's office, is a powerful symbol of resilience and hope. It reminds us that the people of Gaza, despite the unimaginable horrors they face, continue to hold on to their humanity and their beliefs. One of the most shocking aspects of this conflict is the moral and ethical breakdown within Israeli society. Videos and reports of Israeli soldiers and civilians committing acts of violence, including gang rapes, have surfaced. A recent poll in Israel showed that 40% of the population believes it is justifiable to rape Palestinians. This level of dehumanization is unprecedented and deeply disturbing. It's a clear sign that the Israeli state is collapsing from within, driven by a toxic mix of desperation and hatred. The international community, including the United Nations, has failed to act decisively. The United States, which has provided unwavering support to Israel, bears a significant moral responsibility for the ongoing violence. Dan argues that the simplest and most effective way to end this conflict is for the U.S. to cut off military aid to Israel. This is something that ordinary citizens can and should demand from their elected officials. The future of the region, according to Dan, lies in a one-state solution, a multi-ethnic, multi-religious, and multicultural democracy where every person has equal rights. This vision is a far cry from the apartheid state that currently exists, where Palestinians are treated as second-class citizens, at best, and less than human, at worst. The conversation with Kovalik left a profound impact on me. It's a reminder that the struggle for justice and peace in Palestine is not just a political issue, but a moral imperative. We owe it to ourselves and to future generations to speak out, to educate ourselves, and to take action. I encourage all of you to read Dan's book, The Case for Palestine, Why It Matters and Why You Should Care. It's a comprehensive and accessible guide that will help you understand the roots of this conflict and the urgent need for a just resolution. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of BrightLearn. If you found this conversation as enlightening and moving as I did, please share it with your friends and family. Together, we can make a difference. Until next time, keep shining a light on the truth. Peace be with you.
This has been a BrightLearn.ai summary of an interview between Daniel Kovalik and Mike Adams on August 12, 2024. The full interview is available at brighteon.com, where you can also find podcasts and special reports by Mike Adams and other creators. Visit naturalnews.com for full editorial coverage of this interview and breaking news on critical stories that will keep you informed and aware of what's really going on.